All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Rise Urban Nation, the podcast where we amplify voices shaping culture, community, and commerce. I'm your host, Taryell Simmons, and today's guest is someone who embodies all three. He's a seasoned attorney, and I thought FIFA was just sports. I know they had attorneys in FIFA, but I'm about to learn about that. FIFA certified sports agent and award-winning community leader and the fierce advocate for justice and equity across the African diaspora. Please help me welcome the brilliant mind behind the Saber firm, Taalib, and you could call his name Taalib Saber. Taalib, welcome to the show, brother. I know you. How you doing today?
Man, everything is everything. Everything is blessed, feeling good. Another day, another time to live, another time to impact, another time to build with my brother. So
Yeah, I love that. And me and him was vibing out just a few minutes ago. Before you was on been on the mission to protect people's dreams legally, but also uplift communities globally. You was on this mission to get vegan, and my sister was on that same vegan mission. We was talking about eating healthy leaves and all that good stuff. And I know you from the DMV area like me, so tell me what's some of you got some favorite vegan spots that you frequent out in DC?
oh yeah. So you got E-Life, which is pretty dope, Everlasting Life, in Capitol Heights, and then you got one that of late I've liked, Dodas, which is in what is it, off of Rhode Island Avenue.
Okay.
And then you got what's the other spot I go to? Those are the two that come to mind in the DC area.
Okay.
And up in Baltimore, there are a couple of spots that, for some reason, it's not. Oh, Hugh Apothecary. So Hugh Cafe and Apothecary in Owens Mills is really dope. Really dope. And then Simbeb in DC, that's another one that I like.
Oh, you got all the spots. You got all the spots.
Yeah, you got to.
All right, so to my sister out there, Tosin, if you hearing this, the spots we got. So I'm gonna frequent those spots next time I come out to the DMV. So we'll check those out. I come from a Nigerian household. My mom's from New York. My dad's from Nigeria. So vegan. When my sister tried to get us on the vegan thing, she had a very hard sell. I don't know if you know about that. Like,
yeah. No, look, I can imagine, man. Like I said, when I travel, because I go to the continent often, so that's being able to get food. I never really had a problem with getting food per se, because I love my banku and my red, but like when I do happen to travel to a place that they'll just look at you kind of funny, like, is that all you having? You're not gonna have any type of meat with that? You just having like sides? What is this? So I gave up on trying to convert people a long time ago. When I first became a vegan, I was on that tip, but now it's kind of like, live your life, man.
Yeah, live your life. Hey, he's still living his life. He still dip his French fries in that mambo sauce, y'all. And if you don't know, now you know.
That's not going anywhere, man.
Well, let's walk us through your journey, man, from Morgan State to launching Saber Firm. What inspired you to shift into entrepreneurship through law?
For sure. So like I would say when probably my first memory of being a lawyer, wanting to be a lawyer, came when I was around 5 or 6. And at that time, I think the O.J. Simpson trial was on TV. So I always saw Johnny Cochran, bad suits, all that stuff. So I remember there was some type of career day that our school had, elementary school. And I showed up in like a suit and a briefcase. And I remember telling my parents like I wanted to be a lawyer. So everything I thought in order to be a lawyer I had to go through like political science. So I had to graduate high school, go to Morgan State, college undergrad, and study political science. Later on did I know that you could do any type of area major and then you can become a lawyer. But during that time when I was at Morgan State, the Dean Pierce of North Carolina Central University came to the school to, recruit or talk about North Carolina Central School of Law and how that was. And I was so impressed by the culture of the school, impressed with what he was talking about. In addition to the fact it was cost effective, I said, I may want to, try that out. So I applied, got into Central. And then at that time, when I went down to North Carolina, I already had plans on going and staying there, like building a life, having family, kids, all that stuff in North Carolina. And something happened the first year of law school where my grandfather was sick. And I remember
Mm,
spring of that year, I had an opportunity to go to, this was 2013, so I had an opportunity to go to Capitol Hill to have an internship, or
yeah.
I could went to South Africa. And when I told my grandfather this is one of the last conversations I had, when peace be upon him. When I told him that, he just lit up when I said South Africa, so I knew that was the choice. And that was my first time abroad, first time by myself, not knowing anybody on the trip because it was through Howard's
Yeah.
program. And it was a life changing experience going there, taking a video camera at the time, recording,
Mm,
interviewing our brothers and sisters in South Africa, seeing how the struggle of South Africa was very similar to what we experienced in America, and that helped to continue to define my Pan-Africanism and how I define myself by seeing the connectivity of all African people, particularly
mm,
in South Africa. So I came back, and then I went to Ghana the next year, and had
nice.
an internship at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and I took classes as well. But I remember
Mm,
coming back and telling my professor, my property professor, Professor Mana, I said, "Yeah,
yeah.
I don't." Because I'm doing film and I was working with this documentary at the time I was working on called Afro Hop, which is hip hop
Yeah.
politics and Pan Africanism. I
What?
was like, yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to kind of explore that more, and I felt like the mission and passion that I have for my community, it would not be able to. I couldn't do it solely with law because law had a ceiling. Depending on where I practiced, it was jurisdiction based, all those things. So she set me up with somebody that was in Ryan Coogler's camp to like help me out with the documentary I was working on and things like that during school. At that time, I was like, I didn't even want to finish law school. I wanted to just do this. And I had a
Yeah.
conversation with my mentor, Urban Joyner. He's a civil rights attorney as well. And we would always, oftentimes, I would go into his office, close the door, and we just have like fireside chats, and he would kind of guide me through life and stuff.
I
And
love
I was
that.
talking to him, just
Shout out to him. Shout out
yeah,
to
shout
him.
out to Professor Joyner. So, and he was helping me through my trepidation during that time, and he said, like we essentially he was saying like we need you in this
Mm,
field, and yes, it is a ceiling here, but you know if not you, then who? If we have someone
mm,
that's in the community that has this orientation about them that is for the community, and you have a law degree and a license, you can do more
mm,
damage than someone positively than someone who does not have your mentality. So
yeah.
graduating law school, I actually wanted to become a human rights attorney. That was the plan, like human rights attorney.
Mm,
And I never had any intention on working with any firm at all because I knew that I love the film working as excuse me, filmmaking aspect. I love being in community. I was an activist and an
mm,
organizer, so I love just being in the midst like that. So I knew that that coupled with me traveling and my love for traveling, it wouldn't really fit a firm because I would have to have strict hours like 9 to 5, da da da.
mm,
So did that for a couple of years, and then I came into the area that I practice now, which is sports and
mm,
entertainment, and it was really an extension of what
mm,
I do because it was a
yeah.
hard time for me to try to figure out if I was selling out by going into this area or not. So I had to sit with myself, meditate, speak to elders, sit at the feet of elders to kind of get some guidance on it, and then that's what kind of landed me here.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love the whole origin story, the mentors along the way, and then the transitions that developed along the way. Look, one, let me go back real quick to the dress thing. My man stayed dressed. He that's I knew you was gonna come with it too. That's why I was like, I might have to put a button up on for this episode. I was looking at your pictures. My man giving Cam Newton the run for his money. Like
Go ahead,
either
man.
Cam Newton the law right here. I don't know.
Yo, hey man, I gotta put on. I love to represent the culture, and what my everything about me has symbolism and some type of meaning. So,
That
yeah.
I see that. I see that. And then there's some parallels between me and your life too. I originally left DC because I didn't want to get into government or politics, and that's where most of all of the jobs is at, right? My parents was in that, and so like I came all the way out here to the West Coast,
Mm,
and for those who know me in my day job, I'm in government doing equity work,
mm,
equity, diversity, inclusion work. So
mm.
I guess when there's a calling on your life, you can't escape it. You just
Each,
like if it's not you, then who? That's the
each.
same question that the elder said to me, and I'm like, let me think. I love community. Let me see who else loves community and can navigate
Mm-hmm.
politics. Oh man, I'm running the blank right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's
Because
exactly.
I was going to ask you, like, how did you merge all those things? But I mean, you told it beautifully in your story. How it all came together with law activism, creativity, and all of those insights. But from you, what does it really mean to represent clients in both business and sports and entertainment spaces, and have that pan Africanism, and the lens that you have? What does that really mean for you?
To me, it means being able. So proud of me practicing law. Or I guess I would say like the early stages of me practicing law some years ago. It was always about what I could do for community. Like I would show
Hmm.
up in that capacity. So like if you needed me to pass out food, because I would do a lot of that. I had two organizations, Tubman House and then Movement for Black Power. One was in
Hmm.
Baltimore, one is in DC. And it would be like a lot of that. Like I would show up to the organization as a part of it. And I wouldn't even, for the most part, wear a lawyer hat. Like literally, I would be on the ground, boots on the ground, as we're taught, like passing out stuff, educating community, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
just being
And
in community.
exactly, that's it, right? And in fact, there was one time I was in Baltimore, and I never forget this. It was a young brother that came up to me, and he was like 7 years old, and I was sitting on the stoop. He offered me a hot dog because it was like a cookout, and I said, "Well, no, I don't eat that." And then we talked about veganism and stuff like that. And then I don't know how we got on the topic, but he said he somehow it came out that I was a lawyer. So he said, "Wait, you a lawyer?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "But you here though?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, he said, "But we don't see out here." And I said, "Well, I'm a different type of attorney." So like
Yeah,
for me, that's how I merge it all, because my end goal is to advance the liberation of our people no matter where we are, right?
yeah,
So if that is the end goal, everything that I do falls in line with that. So even with the sports and entertainment stuff, like I still do my human rights advocacy on an international level through my organization, actually out there with you, EdFu Foundation, shout out to them. And
okay,
being able to go to the UN and speak on behalf
yeah,
of our people, to talk about the injustices that's going on here. I still do that. But practice wise, I'm sitting back and looking at how everything is displayed. And I remember a conversation I had in law school with a brother of mine, Myron Latney. He practices out in Colorado now. But
yeah,
we were talking just about sports and well, mainly entertainment, because I was doing the film work in Ghana and in South Africa, and
uh-huh,
then in Kenya. And we were talking about like getting how we could really play a role in that. I think at the time he was making
mm,
beats as well. And, so I'm like, okay, well, since I'm always around artists and since I'm always around this type of crowd, it would make sense
yeah,
to actually practice that. But in my mind, and I would say at that point, in a mind that didn't have the vision, I was looking at it from the perspective of human rights and civil rights is my route. Anything else is a sellout. Like I cannot
yeah,
get into something that is openly oppressing my people. Like that's just, to me, that's how I looked at it, and that's how I looked at corporate law. So that was my first encounter with it. And then circling back years later, I had another homie of mine who is out there with you, Amir Collier. That's
yeah,
he had more of the technical skill and training in film. And he hit me one day and he was like, "Yo, I think you need to get into entertainment law, because I'm out
mm,
here looking at I'm working with some other attorneys and things, and I'm seeing that, there's a need here for what you represent. And the fact
mm,
that the talent looks like you for the most part, like a lot of talent looks like you need to be in this realm." And again, it was in the back of my head. I'm like, I don't know. But once I had that conversation with some elders and really sat with it, and I said, you know what? I show up everywhere that I am in any space that I'm in. So
Yeah.
it's not about me selling out or feeling like I'm a sellout. It's about me showing up as I am. So even though I'm
Mm-hmm.
not practicing civil and human rights from a legal perspective, that still shows up in the work that I do when it comes to advocating for my business clients and making sure that they understand their rights as it pertains to business and creating generational wealth that will pour into the community. When it comes to sports and entertainment, a lot of young brothers and sisters who have no idea exactly how image rights work, how NILs work, how you're able to trademark or copyright your intellectual property,
Mm-hmm.
are getting taken advantage of. Like on the day, and we've seen in history how often that has happened to artists and
Yeah.
athletes
All the time.
all the time. So it's like this is still happening. This is an area where we can educate our people that are moving into that. And because I also am a mentor, a lot of younger artists and athletes would need this type of guidance, and not
Yeah.
from a place of solely trying to get money out of you or like that's the end goal. It's from a place of, no, I don't want to see you end up in a 10-year contract that
Mm-hmm.
you can't get out of, and you're only making a quarter or a fraction of the amount that you should be making. It's about truly educating the client. And it just so happens to be this is the area that I actually enjoy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an area that, of all the practice areas of law, this is one that doesn't necessarily deal in retribution all the time, because civil rights and human
Yeah.
rights tend to do that. Like you're dealing with an injustice that happened and
Yeah.
you're trying to fix it. Whereas with this, I view it more so as creating and manifesting dreams and helping that come to fruition. And
Yeah.
that's
It's more
more
like
fulfilling right now.
Afrofuturistic, like where you have a direct hand in shaping the future of what could be ours and what could be for us.
Exactly, from an international perspective. So it's like this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how, to answer your question directly, that's how it ties all in, is because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people here in the States don't necessarily see our position as it relates to the international arena.
Mm-hmm.
We may see it as the United States. A lot of us never left, one, our cities, but two, like the states, period, because it's like you have everything that the mentality may be that you have everything that you need here.
Yeah.
Whereas when you actually go outside of the United States and you experience different cultures, even different areas of blackness, that will give
Mm-hmm.
you a certain amount of pride. And I always say it's nothing like being an all black country. Like when you go
Yeah.
there and you see from top to bottom, like black, that ignites a certain thing within you. And for me, that's how I'm able to fuse all of it together. Cause it's like I can tell a business owner, hey, like you're doing business in the DMV area, or you're doing business, I don't know, in Virginia, wherever you're doing business at. And that's
Yeah.
cool. It's good that you want to expand nationwide. But have you thought about, I don't know, creating a plant in Uganda where it would be able to build international assistance, having that Pan-Africanism when it comes to that, helping brothers and sisters out that's there. And then also you're still getting like the resources, and you're building your business and expanding. Or have you thought about going to South America and then talking to some of the brothers and sisters that's, in Brazil or in
Mm-hmm.
places that can help to grow and expand your business? It's like, don't just think from the perspective of the United States is it, because it's not. Think
Yeah.
globally. And that's how I
Man,
mesh and merge all of this together.
I love how you weaved all that in, a couple of perspectives on that. And, that's the whole reason why I started this podcast, is just to, one, unite all of our stories across the diaspora, because I think, especially, I want to just put this on young people, but for a lot of people who haven't been past their neighborhood in the States, we have a very isolated view. I was lucky to grow up in a household where I had a Nigerian dad from the continent, and, mom who was born in New York, but I was raised in D.C. around a melting pot of just different type of. I was raised in D.C. when it was Chocolate City, not what
Right,
it is
right.
now. It's like a chocolate chip cookie. uh, and so that it enabled me to see several different identities
Mhm.
of of blackness and Pan African and ness and relate to that in a different level, right? Just as the experience of going to a South Africa or somewhere and seeing black at all levels, right? It changes your mindset of what is possible and what isn't possible. And so I like the fact that you're going approaching it from that, because what I attempted to do the first, and then, it's slowly weaving me across international borders now because of all the different people that come on the show, and then the relation piece, and then, okay, how can we bridge and work together?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking up because when you were talking about the film, I was like, I think Idris Elba just did something with African. And yeah, he did, because I just saw it on my timeline, because he's working with African leaders, like in, I think it's Ghana, the king of Ghana, to build the first African film industry that showcase African stories. I was like, oh, that's gonna be dope.
I think he's
So
Ghanaian, if I'm not mistaken, like part Ghanaian.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, we gonna need some lawyers out there to get that deal right.
For sure. For sure. You see, look, on the continent, you'll find that there's so many different opportunities
Right.
for like just expansion. Peace be upon him, Robert Mugabe years ago would say, like, yo, we need Africans from America to come back to actually help to lend their skills and their knowledge to develop some of these areas and some of the things that we have, the infrastructure within our country.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing a movement now of it's more acceptable to
Hmm.
travel to the continent and highlight the fact that you're having fun. It's not just this dark continent that people have tried to make it to be over the course of so many years, but from east to West Africa, north and south, like it's so many opportunities, not just business wise, but being able to build long-term relationships and
Yeah.
getting back into like your roots and your culture and your heritage. I have a whole
Hmm.
nonprofit that deals with that and taking young people to the continent. So it's like being able to tap into that and realizing so many opportunities. And it's a lot of people because you still have the notion of, the type of lifestyle that's on the continent, no matter where you are. And it's like, well, if that was the case and if it was really that negative, then why is it that every time I go, and no matter where I go, I always see more people that outside of the
Hmm.
locals, indigenous, more people that don't look like me that's
Yeah.
vacationing in these places and
Vacationing
living
there,
and
living their
repatriating their
best
skills.
life.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a narrative.
Like I saw somebody put a post on Instagram the other day that's like this black lady who was from the continent saying, hey, to all you black Americans, they have you believing that it's huts and stuff out here and you shouldn't come out here, it's dangerous. Look at this 5-star resort here,
Uh-huh.
and all these white people out here
Mhm.
vacationing, enjoying themselves.
Uh-huh.
Like, you should come out too, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, but
Exactly.
digress from that, like, I was talking to an elder the other day who's from America but went and
Mhm.
did some work in the bush not too long ago in Africa somewhere. It's just to get old healing remedies and so forth like that, because she works in healthcare.
Mhm.
And she was telling me something profound. I think she's probably, I want to say in her 70s, 80s, but the wisdom she handed upon me was just
Mhm.
dope. She reminded me, like, our connection and our community is our superpower, and the
Teach.
reason why they try to keep us so disconnected and apart, because they know what we build when we are together. Like, that's why
Teach.
you had Tulsa and all those other stuff, and that's why they keep the continent. They came in, colonized Africa, put all these borders up, and don't even, you're in Africa, you need a visa sometimes to go just next door to your neighbor.
Right.
It's crazy, right? And you don't have that here in the U.S., but they have that in Africa to keep folks separate from building, so that it can stay colonized, and then all these other countries and places can benefit off
Mm-hmm.
the natural resources, off the backs of Africa. And
Teach.
what we need is just to pour into each other. And so I'm all about what you're trying to do to get people back to these young people back to the continent, get back to knowing their roots. And I think what you built is something powerful. But I can't imagine the journey that wasn't without trials. So talk to us about some of those significant hurdles you faced as a Black lawyer building businesses and underserved communities with creatives and entrepreneurs, and what you're doing now.
No, for sure. Like the one of the biggest things was even before law school.
Okay.
So, and this was while I was at Morgan. My scores weren't the best when it came to taking the LSAT. So
Mm,
I remember now I had because the thing about me, and even this carried on through my law school career and post law. So now I'm really big on building relationships, right? Even with clients, like it's not just I don't see it solely as transactional. I see it as like building relationships and community. So I had at this time I already had all the recommendations that I needed to get into law school, but maybe it's the cancer nature in me. I wanted to get something, I wanted to get an additional signature to make sure everything was straight just in case, right? So I go to this
mm-hmm,
particular professor at Morgan at the time in the political science department, and I asked him for a recommendation letter. And he says,
mm-hmm,
"Oh, I can, I'm busy, da 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 da." I'm like, "Okay, cool, no problem." So I go back to the office. Now he didn't know I was there. I was sitting outside in the corridor, and the a friend of mine went back to speak to him. And I
mm-hmm.
don't think at the time she was asking for a recommendation letter. I think she just wanted to rap to him for a bit.
Yeah.
And I overheard him say, "Yeah, I had this young brother just come in here and asking for a recommendation letter. And I saw his scores. My name gotta be on that, and I'm not about to vouch and da 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 da. For this, just going like I'm crazy, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, and I'm like, wow. And I remember feeling the type of way for
Mm,
maybe like a couple hours to a day, something like that. And I was talking to some friends of mine. Of course, they're doing what they do, pour into you. And I said, huh, okay. So I never told him that, I never confronted him or talked to him about it. But I was like, all right, we'll see. So of course, fast forward, I'm here. But like that was one that stood out.
mm-hmm,
I would say another one actually came from another lawyer, like an older lawyer
mm-hmm.
that I was working with. And he had somehow, some way he got wind of me doing having like a hobby doing some film work.
Yeah.
And when I was working with him, well, I was about to work with him, he said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to choose." And I'm like, "What do you choose? What?" He said, "Well, I heard that you're into film and you're doing that, and eventually you're gonna have to make a decision, like if you're gonna be a filmmaker or if you're gonna practice law." And I was taken aback by the statement because I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
never told you that I was doing that, and then two, I think you're making a little too much of that because that literally is just a hobby for me. It's not, and it wasn't a career, so like that's not what I
Yeah.
wanted at that time. So I sat with it. I remember talking to another lawyer about it who also was kind of like a mentor to me, and he just broke it down and shot some game with me about how a lot of older attorneys have a tendency to be like single-minded and just
Yeah.
only have like this is all they got and this is what they have and they want to kind of hold on to it, whereas younger attorneys have a tendency to explore a bit more. And for me, particularly, which is why you see
Mm-hmm.
the agent license, like I don't have just one interest. I've never only had one interest. It's always been okay. I like to do
Mm-hmm.
this. This is something that's a passion of mine. This is
Yeah.
something I'm good at, but at the same time, I want to always diversify what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
just because that's how my interests are. I'm an artist at heart. I'm a poet, so it's
Yeah.
like that's something that being creative and doing creative things is something that's a passion of mine. But I would say, and I can honestly admit, those probably are the two biggest things that I've had to face as an attorney. I haven't had many significant obstacles. And
Mm-hmm.
mainly, I would also account it and attribute it to the fact that I've had strong mentors. I'm a very spiritual person, so like if it's not if it doesn't resonate with me, if my intuition or
Mm-hmm.
the vibes of the situation, the energy's off, then I don't pursue it, and then uh I'm unapologetically black. So like
Yeah.
I don't try to shield who I am or kowtow in any capacity or dim my light for anybody, no matter who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that has helped tremendously, in addition to the fact that I have a strong support system around me. So I never
I
really
love
was
that.
deterred about anything. But those probably would be the two biggest obstacles as far as external pressures that
Hmm.
may have impacted me in a sense during this career.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I think people, and no knock to some of our elders, and sometimes when they're in that single mindset of like
Mhm.
this is success, this is what it looks like. When they get folks who don't fit in the box or in the
Right.
mold, people like us, um, it just I don't know. I guess it disrupts people's thinking of what is possible, and they want to put you back into the box because they're like, all right, you doing too much. You need to go. You need to choose this thing, right? But that's not where we excel, and we have to walk to the beat of our own drum and then move past that. I know for me, that helped. The challenge for me was like a little bit of imposter syndrome at first, but
Mhm.
I started to understand some of the limiting beliefs I have weren't my own limiting beliefs. It was the beliefs that was embedded in me by somebody else who couldn't do it. So they
Teach.
made me believe that I couldn't do it.
Exactly.
Um, so with that, I'm curious. Like, I don't know if you ever had imposter syndrome, but if you did, how do you handle imposter syndrome? And then some of the early phases of my career of doing business,
Mhm.
access to capital,
Yeah.
and then also, you know, in my career navigating systems that are not built for us. So like, how do you handle imposter syndrome, access to capital, or navigating systems not built for us? I know that's a loaded question,
Oh
but
no, no, we're gonna
take your
break it
time
down.
with
We can break it down. We're gonna break it down. We got some time.
it.
So imposter syndrome. I would say of imposter syndrome, um again, so I think the most recent time was when was that? 2022, right?
Mhm.
And I, I'm a pretty confident person. I'm used to performance. Like I like performance. So even if I'm nervous leading up to something, like
Yeah.
I'm not going to show it at all. So I remember going to the UN, and this was the first time that, because you think of the UN, but for me, like some of my heroes and idols kind of got assassinated. So it's like that was
Mm.
always something that they talked about or either were at, you know. And I'm like, okay, cool. So going to UN, it's cool.
Mhm.
Right before I was about to make my speech there at the permanent
Yeah.
forum of people of African descent, that imposter syndrome came in because
Oh.
I was sitting beside, and the
Yeah.
at the UN is kind of like how a regular classroom is, at least the
Mhm.
seat set up, right? This long row, like long table, and you got chairs. So I remember talking to, it was some sisters that were beside, like two seats down, that were from New York. And this was in Geneva, so we, flew to Switzerland for this. So it was two that were from New York that were speaking on education. I think it was education and the juvenile justice system, I believe. And then
Mhm.
there was a white counterpart that was beside me to the left, and she dealt specifically with, I think it was like the Innocence Project or something dealing
Yeah.
with post conviction work. And I remember talking to the sister beside me to the right was like more nervous than I was. And I'm like, okay, that
She was messing with your nerves.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, cause I'm like, hold on, man. Like, but the thing about it is her speech, because we were rehearsing it with each other, and
Yeah.
her speech was phenomenal. Like, it was dope. And
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, you got it, whatever. So she was, kind of make me slightly nervous. And then I remember the woman to the left, she said, oh nah, you got it. Like I did this last year, and just make sure that you don't what was it? Make sure that you don't go over time because they will cut your mic. But up until this point, they haven't been doing that because people have been talking. It was a brother from Sudan that was talking right before me, maybe four people before me, or something like that. And we all had 2 minutes. He went over by like five, and I
Wow.
knew when she cut his mic, I'm like, dang, she's not gonna allow you to go over, that amount. So I'm still sitting there and I'm like, okay. And then now everything is coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Thinking about those who've come before me, thinking about the fact that, am I qualified to be here? Like thinking about all this
Yeah.
stuff is kind of rushing, right?
Right.
Until they call my name and then it's go time.
It's go
So
time.
I think that probably was the most recent time that I felt an imposter syndrome. But I was still able to kind of maneuver it and conquer through it. I would
Nah.
say to your other question about capital and business, I'll say this, like, and I tell any my interns that I have now, and I'll tell like law students and all of that, when you are in business, when you go to law school and you want to hang a shingle, one of the things that isn't really taught in law school, as it should be, is like
Mm-hmm.
the business of law, not just the
Mm.
practice. Because we learn, at least with Central, what happened, we were taught elemental type of things. So
Yeah.
like that means that we prepared for the bar. We had to match the elements and see what is what, and make sure that we can satisfy whatever um, that area of law is.
Mm-hmm.
So we were taught that way. We weren't taught like theory about why the law happened. It was more so like the practical aspect of it.
Yeah.
However, we weren't taught enough, in my opinion, how to run a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coming out of law school, I'm like, all right, well, I'm hanging up my own shingle. Didn't realize that it takes money to make money. Because and get it, like my immediate line over me, so my parents line, they weren't
Uh-huh.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Those that were above them, so my grandparents and their line, they were all barbers. So like they were
Yeah.
barbers, they had businesses, things like that. So it skipped a generation. So for me, I didn't have that immediate. I mean, I talked to my grandfather over the years and stuff, but it never really resonated, the business aspect of it, until probably right around the time I was going to law school, and by that time he was
Mm.
already sick. So I didn't really get it like that. I had to kind
Yeah.
of piece it together, and then you consider I'm a brother that's in law school that literally is flying by the seat of my pants. In a sense, I'm building relationships and connections, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm not taking seriously the fact that once I graduate here, I got to work and I got to have this and that and da da da. So I would say to those that are in law school branching out, figure out how you're going to make the capital in order to sustain your business and yourself. And same with
Mm-hmm.
business owners too, because capital is a bit difficult to obtain, even though people say all the time, like, yes, out there you can do grants and da 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 da. That's cool, but you also have to consider, you have to be realistic too. And that's one of the issues that I have sometimes with social media and how it
Yeah.
operates, is because you see social media is like a highlight reel. So you see these
Mm-hmm.
people saying, "Oh, I made 30,000 this month. I made 100,000 da 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 in 2 days," and it's like, okay, that
Yeah.
may or
They
may
didn't.
not be true, but how much did you lose? How did
Mm-hmm.
you invest it? Or excuse me, how did you get the money to invest in your business like that? What's your living situation? Are you
Mm-hmm.
staying with somebody? Do you have a roommate? Like these are things that aren't talked about, and it allows people to kind of in a sense gaslight to see their success,
Yeah.
and it's like, nah, you not that's not how it is on a day-to-day when you out here struggling. And typically when you start a business, you are the main source of income, which means that you have another job in order to be
Mm-hmm.
able to pour money into the business. Because think about it, you're a brand new business. Who's about to give you 50 grand, just based off of the only time that you get money like that is going to school. And I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure out the trick bag with that. Like, how do you give an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old $60,000, and
Right.
you got to jump through hoops to get a business loan?
Right.
So
That that
that's
that
that's what
that's that's
that's,
that's that's
that's
American economic at its finest. Like, what's the best way we could get them in debt?
exactly, exactly. So it's like, but it's not as simple as people make it to be. Like getting capital is hard, and
Right.
then also if you're working by yourself and you don't have a team, let alone if you got kids, but like if you're working by yourself and you don't have a team to delegate stuff, you really gonna be burning the midnight oil trying to figure this out, write grants, get loans, do whatever it is that you need to do to get the money. So it can be a bit complicated, which means that and difficult, which means that you should rely on relationships. And that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest things I would tell any entrepreneur or business owner, is to rely on, or excuse me, build your network up, build relationships,
Mm-hmm.
join an organization. That's something I learned in my individual capacity, working in community and working with like the elders of the Black Panther Party and others. Like,
Yeah.
you need to join an organization, get with a group of people that think like you, that have resources that can help
Mm-hmm.
you along the way. Because when you do have times where you need a little capital, I just finished watching The Godfather, was the Godfather of music, Black Godfather, with
Yeah.
Clarence Avant, and like
Uh-huh.
the network that he built up, by getting out there and having that hustler mentality, but also taking advantage of relationships and building relationships. So being able
Yeah.
to build relationships is going to help you succeed when it comes to business and to be able to get the money.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. Like, look, your network is your net worth. Because
Teach.
when you're able to get the right people in the room and have the right conversations, it can really move mountains. It's not always what you know. You know, people say it's who you know, and I say I do you one better. It's who knows you. Because once they know of you, they start sending people to you. Your name start getting mentioned in rooms that your feet haven't even touched, and that's
Teach.
that's where the real deals are made.
Teach.
Um, and everything you were highlighting, I was just having some conversations with some young entrepreneurs just the other day. You were speaking to everything that they was talking about when it comes to like the gaslighting on social media. Like,
Mhm.
yo, I've been doing this, but like I'm up to 20K in debt on my credit card. It ain't happen like that. Like, and I followed this advice and so forth. So I know there's people listening to this right now. Raise your hand if you've been in that point where you've been afraid to register your business because you don't know how to start, where you can get the money,
Mhm.
or if it's real and all that stuff. If you're driving, keep your hand back on the car. You can just nod your head and give an amen. But
Teach.
I, I need you to give some tips right now. Give me the
Okay.
real. Tell these folks, help them demystify that right now.
Right.
Like, how do they start? Like, where do they start to register their business and get a start? If they got something, a business, or they coming out of law school, they can't find a job, and so they need to start their law firm. Give them a little bit of tip points from the real.
Got you, got you. So, blueprint. Now, if you are an entrepreneur or if you're someone who wants to own a business, first thing you need to do is figure out what type of business do you want to own. Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
own a brick and mortar situation? Do you want to own an online business? Are you providing a product? Are you providing a service? Once you've identified what that is, then I would suggest getting involved with the industry if you haven't already, being in the industry, because you need to study it, you need to research it, you need to know, and it'll do you wonders just to do a business plan so that way you know exactly who your competitors.
Market research is very
Right.
important.
That's right. Exactly. It's extremely important. So these are all the tedious things that you need to do that's not glamorized because it doesn't involve, making millions of dollars. Like this is where you literally are in the back office studying, hustling, and working in that capacity, right? So you need to study the industry, study the market, study whatever your product or service is that you want to have or to market, to sell. And then once you've had all that and done the research and all those things, now it's about getting a name. I'm about to walk you through this whole thing. So like getting a name, right?
Right.
So when you get a name, when you come up with a name for your business, make sure that it's a name that is very unique because
Mm,
eventually you want to file a trademark to protect it. So
mm-hmm.
you want to get something that's very unique that nobody else has and that fits and speaks to whatever product or service you're doing.
Mm,
Starting off with a unique name now will help you later on because I've dealt with clients in the past that may have had a business with the name, went to do a trademark, it's taken. Or if you
mm.
end up scaling, because they don't necessarily look at the smaller businesses per se, but like if you start scaling up, you start having success in your business, and say you had that
Mm.
name for 5 years. Imagine if you had a name for a while, only for you to get a letter from a cease and desist letter from a bigger company.
That same thing happened to me. So like I had this podcast was named Risepreneurs before.
Mhm.
So I did the LLC, the business name and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Went to I got the website, everything, right?
Mhm.
Come to find out, somebody had it trademarked, but they just hadn't moved forward with what they was doing, and they sent me a cease and desist. All they had was a YouTube page up or something,
Mhm.
and some courses they were gonna do, but they didn't have the website. They had none. I spent all this money
Exactly.
and I had to switch everything out. So
Exactly. That's real. You're a tester. You're a testament to it. Like, yeah, that's
man,
real. And it costs you more in the front end, excuse me, it costs you more in the front end to get it right, but in the back end
man,
you save a lot. So by going through that process early on, it really does help. So now we
hmm,
get to a point, you got your name, you did the research, you're still networking and all those things. Now filing like your LLC. We typically say to start with an LLC because it's really for major types of business entities that people talk
hmm,
about. You got the sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, and then corporation. And corporation is two types. So, or the two major types. So, with the sole proprietorship, you never necessarily want to get a sole proprietorship or a partnership, which is just one of two or more people,
yeah,
because there's no protection over that. So, if you were to get sued, they can attack your personal assets. Meaning, if you have a house or if you have a car or something in your name, if there's a judgment against your business, maybe you got somebody sick, whatever the case may be, from your product, they can attach a judgment against your assets. So
yeah,
that's why you want to steer clear of that. If you don't have a business entity registered, then automatically by default, if it's one of you, if it's only one owner, then it's a sole proprietorship. If it's two, then it's a general partnership, typically. Now, when you
yeah,
move to the LLC, that protects your assets because it means that you're a separate entity than the business, right? So it's you in your individual capacity, and then it's the business. So y'all separate. So your personal assets aren't attacked. Now, there's an issue with this though sometimes with people who are, and I think this led to the corporate act that came out that said that you got to file the owners of the business, the
yeah,
federal act. Yeah. So people try to set up LLCs, but still treat it like it's their own, like
hmm,
them themselves as an individual is not separate from the LLC. We have something in the law called piercing the corporate veil. So if
yeah,
you have an LLC and say you're intermingling money, your personal funds and your business funds, or you're doing stuff that kind of blurs the lines, don't think that an LLC is going to protect you because the court can cut through that and just go still attack your assets. So that's why it's important to treat the business as a separate entity, have a completely separate bank account, making sure that the documents are separated, the business is completely separated, so that way you won't have to fall victim to it.
yeah,
And then, of course, you got the corporation. That's when typically, I know accountants talk about you want to make about around 50,000 or more in profit to
yeah,
before you switch out to the S corp, and then of course a C corp, board of directors, things like that. So those are the entity structures. So you want to make sure that you have your entity structure in place, and then you also want to have an operating agreement or
hmm,
bylaws, something that governs the business. Because all of this is what makes your business look legitimate. I don't care if you're a single member LLC, if it's only you. It's always
hmm,
good to have an operating agreement. So in the event that you want to go in to get funding, or if it's something in which you need to look even more legitimate, you have those things in place. And then there's other
yeah,
contracts and documents that you need, like independent contractor agreement, or if you have employees, an employee agreement contract. And also you want to get business insurance, no matter what
hmm,
area that you practice, excuse me, no matter what area you have your business, you always want to have business insurance because that's
hmm,
going to save you thousands. If you get sued, think of it this way: if you get sued and you don't have business insurance, you got to pay all that out of pocket. But if you
woo,
have business insurance, then they can cover some of the costs, if not all of the costs of any lawsuits. So it's good to have, just for business generally. And then there's two different professionals I always recommend, and not just because I'm one of them, but you
yeah,
need a lawyer and you need an accountant. If you don't have any other professionals around you, you need a lawyer and an accountant, because the
hmm,
lawyer is going to help save you when it comes to the law. Accountant is going to help save you when it comes to money and finances, because you don't want the IRS knocking down your door, and you definitely don't want to have outstanding judgments and things just because you don't know what's going on with the business. And when you get sued generally, now I'm licensed in
hmm,
Maryland, DC, practice on the federal level, but if you get sued generally, you cannot represent yourself if you have a business. The business is
mm,
separate from the individual, which means you need a lawyer in order to go to court to represent yourself as a business entity. So those are just a couple of things that you would need to start your business out. And of course, you need the
Understand.
capital and stuff. So I would suggest that you have a job or have some way to fund the business. And then when it reaches a point where you're making the same, if not more, in your business, then that might be the time to transition fully into being a full-time business owner. But
Yeah.
don't feel ashamed or don't feel no type of way because you're working a 9 to 5. Most people that got businesses do.
Yeah, like most people start off what I tell folks is, your 9 to 5 is your first investor,
Facts.
pretty much. So
Facts.
don't leave that 9 to 5 until you get enough residual income that allows you then to pivot in that direction.
Mhm.
But my brother, I want to thank you for taking the time just to just put all those facts out there. That I think that's going to be great for a lot of people. And when in doubt, get you a lawyer, get you an accountant.
Teach. Teach. You won't
Thank
go
you for
wrong.
helping us demystify all this.
You won't go wrong, man. And it's not, and it doesn't hurt to also just inquire because a lot of people just think that, oh, lawyers are so expensive, accountants are so expensive, all that stuff. Inquire, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Talk to a lawyer and just see what their fees are because this is the free market. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If one lawyer's fees are too expensive, you may find a lawyer that is within your budget. But the thing
Yeah.
is, and particularly if you're working with say grants or some type of endowment or some money that you're getting like that,
Yeah.
to have a line item for accountants and for lawyers. So when you get
Hmm.
grant money, say you're applying for $10,000, $20,000, you make sure a percentage of that, whatever amount that you want to make, is for both your accountant and your lawyer because you're going to need one regardless. One to go over
Yeah.
the financial records, and then somebody to go over like your internal records to make sure that you are protected as an entity and you can keep, say if you're a nonprofit, you can keep your status.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Now I want to dive into some of the successes that you have because you also work with high profile clients and host international events. What projects are you most proud of?
Projects that I'm most proud of. This is like several because even though I have clients that are high profile, and then you got clients. All of them, I view them all like as the same, to be honest, because they need the
Yeah.
same type of treatment. I would say one of the proudest moments is when. So I had a conversation with a former NFL player. I won't
Uh-huh.
mention the name, but I had a conversation with one, and he was essentially they were using his name and likeness and all this stuff for this particular organization, and he was completely in the dark. Like he was on the board, but he was like completely in the dark about what was going on, had no idea. And I remember I got a late night call from him just about like some
Mhm.
of the situation things that was going on, and this call may have lasted possibly an hour, maybe more or so. And we were just like unpacking and diving in all of it. And from that, it was
Mhm.
like the blinders was off of him, and we were looking through the documents and seeing exactly um, what needed to be what his rights were and stuff within the
Yeah.
framework of everything. And he was just like blown away completely
Yeah.
because we covered so many things. It was not just the business aspect, it also was like some real life stuff, and that he was like completely unaware of. And I think that was the most
Mhm.
impactful for me because that was one of the first clients that I had, in this
Nah.
area. And it kind of showed me like, oh yeah, there's a certain type of image that you get when
Mhm.
dealing with high profile clients or things like that. And when you kind of strip all that away and talk to the person, you kind of
Mhm.
see like, okay, these are some aspects that this person doesn't understand, and
Mhm.
breaking it down in such a way that they still feel empowered and not ashamed because they don't know, because I think that has a
Yeah.
lot to do with it as well. That was one. And then I would say internationally, that when I had an opportunity to speak with some young football play well young soccer players, uh,
Yeah.
in, what was that? I think that was Kenya. So it's even before I got the license, the FIFA license. But being able to kind of speak to them and pour into them and let them know exactly what road lied ahead, lay ahead,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting their being able to just bring them up to speed on a lot of stuff. Because and I think that's why like some of the best type of work that I do is centered around dealing with the athletes that are younger, because it's like you are
Mm-hmm.
completely new to all of this and you have this particular idea and people are coming at you left and right with offering
Mm-hmm.
ideas and different partnerships and opportunities and stuff like that, but you don't necessarily know how to navigate it, and it leads you, especially abroad, it leads you
Yeah.
to so many things that will get you caught up, or they're just lying to you, to take
Yeah.
advantage. And being able to demystify that and tell them exactly what the truth is with regard to that, and then even being their advocate with it,
Mm-hmm.
and letting them know like, no, this isn't going to happen, this client wants this, da 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 da, brokering that. So I think those probably professionally in this area of law were my couple
Yeah.
of things that stood out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And when you were telling your stories, the thing that comes to mind for me is like a lot of people when they start out in business, they're always like, all right, what are the key moves that I got to do to build clients and sustainable clients early on? And the examples you gave are like some key moves that could really help people build credibility and sustainability by just taking the time, be human with them, not shaming them, and going through the process with them, doing that extra mile, the things that you you probably done early on in your career and still continue to do. So thank you for just sharing that.
No doubt.
Now, tell me a little bit about this Afro Hop docu series. How did that idea come about, and what message do you want it to leave behind?
So funny enough, so me and my man Michael
Uh huh.
Cotwell, I met him. So like I said before, South Africa was a very transformative trip for me.
Yeah.
I learned so much, and I always give credit to I call them the big three, but it was three people that was on that trip:
Yeah.
Luther, Farai, and Alexia. Alexia is on my board for Kazi, my nonprofit, and
Yeah.
like we all were in law school. We all, but being able to see them in the different unapologetically black areas in South Africa
Mm-hmm.
was extremely impacting to me. So
Mm-hmm.
with Farai specifically, he was my roommate while I was out there,
Yeah.
and he was more of the art because he was an author. I think right now he's doing film and he might be a manager in Atlanta, but he was very influential because of him being an author, and then he was putting me on game with like Patrice Lumumba and Julius Nyerere and some of the other leaders that we've had, on the continent, and he helped to shape my introduce me to Pan-Africanism. I'll say that because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of study went into it, but like he introduced me to that, and I always give him credit. So when I was there in filming, we just shooting the breeze one day, and we was like, you know what, we should come up with like a documentary series that focuses on like hip hop, politics, and Pan Africanism, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the next year, he was still in school. I mean, we all were still in school, but he didn't go to Ghana because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
look, I love Africa, I love South Africa, West Africa, being able to go to Ghana, like that would be so dope in my mind, So because you hear so many things about it, and I heard that West Africa is more pronounced with their fashion as opposed to East Africa in the culture. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to Ghana, and then we had some conversations more about it, and it was like, okay, so this is what we going. This is the vision. Like we want to be able to interview artists, we want to be able to interview political groups,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of expand like that. So I did that in Ghana. Then the next year I went to Kenya and Tanzania and was doing it there, and then Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
So it eventually like flowered to this thing of being able to express the duality that is me. So the law
Yeah.
aspect was able to get me into areas that ordinary, like sitting with the Supreme Court, the High Court in
Yeah.
Ghana. I did
Yeah.
that because I was a student. I was a law student at the time. Being able to get backstage to concerts and different acts and interviewing different acts. I did that because I had the film stuff going, right? So I was able to kind of use both aspects and areas. Now with Afro Hop, I had to take a hiatus from it because I had to do. I talked to Baba Hali Garima. He was the one that created
Yeah.
Sankofa, right? Yeah. And I remember talking to him. I got back. This had to have been maybe 2015, 16, something like that. And I was fresh off of it. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to just kind of pawn it on somebody else to edit and all these things because I had like hours
Yeah.
of footage. And I remember sitting down with him at Sankofa and just asked him about film work and filmmaking and all this and that. He said, okay, well, it's good, what you got. Uh, you'll never be considered a true filmmaker unless you're able to edit your work. You're able to edit
Yeah.
it and stuff like that. So I sat there, and it wasn't a deterrent for me. It was just that it was so voluminous,
Mm.
the all the footage and splicing the stuff and matching the audio, like it was just very time consuming, where at that time, consider I'm just starting to practice the law, so it's very difficult to be able to do all of that while you still out here hunting and attempting to get clients and building your
Hmm.
reputation, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
with that, it's like it's the footage is there, but I decided actually to transform it into something else. I'm not going to name exactly what it is, but I do have a project that I'm working on that's going to use that footage. And
Okay.
it's going to be similar to some stuff that has been seen on Netflix.
You heard it here first,
You
Rise
get
Urban
it, you
Nation. You
get it,
heard it
you
here
get it.
first. Exclusive.
Exclusive. So like it's going to be very similar to some stuff that's on Netflix, and it's going to be
Okay.
centered around food. So I think
Okay.
that's the extent of what I'll say about it. But like that process really did help bring some stuff out,
Hmm.
and then also it put me in the room of a lot of influential and impactful people. And the beauty about hearing music first released, and it actually led to one of my current clients. Like one of my current clients is a big artist. His name is Rahiz. He's based in Europe, Cape Verde
Nice.
descent. But
Okay.
I remember I was trying to recruit and see, like, get in contact with some Portuguese speaking, acts. And I came across his page because I thought honestly he was from New York, just based off of the
Yeah.
look of everything. And then I heard he was speaking Portuguese, but he also had English in it too. I'm like, okay, this is dope. And reached out to him, started talking to him, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's on another type of tip or another type of level. But in Afro Hop
Mhm.
helped to do that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the story of
I
Afro
love
Hop.
that. I love that. You got me excited about because I'm gonna just put it out in the universe. I'm going to be going. I'm gonna be one of these folks that get selected to. I think it's called AFRE. Let me look at if I can find it up real quick.
Mm.
I think it's called AFRE. It's the acronyms
Afro?
and AFRE. So it's the Atlantic Fellows for Racial Equity, and what this group is, they're getting people from all over the diaspora
Mm,
for to talk about how do we get all these people doing equity work all across the diaspora
mm.
in one place to talk about moving you know the Pan African diaspora forward, right?
Yeah.
And so I applied to that. I'm gonna send you the link to it because I think you would be dope for this.
Cool.
And
Plan.
they work with the literary magazine Moya, and their podcast is Race Beyond Borders. And so they're doing a fellowship, a 2025 fellowship. I think it's a year long, and then they're gonna pay for the folks to go to Johannesburg for like a couple
Nice.
weeks and
Um,
collab and do all that stuff. So I'm gonna put that out in the universe for us
yes.
because I think we
Ashe.
definitely
Claim that. Yes.
Ashe because I think we both need to be a part of this.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but no, I love that. I can't wait to see the exclusive too. We're gonna put that Netflix. If you're listening,
Right.
let's pick this
Right.
up.
Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Um, so this show is all about passing the torch.
Mm.
Let's talk about next generation.
Yes.
What are your top three um, legal missteps you see Black
Okay.
entrepreneurs making, and how can they avoid them?
Okay. Top three. All right. Uh, first one. First one would be Google University. relying too heavy, relying
Right.
too heavy on Google for a lot of stuff, and not getting to the not doing like the heavy lifting. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
trying to take shortcuts with stuff. So I would say some of the legal that aspect of business. I would also say wanting to get, and this is for like the business entrepreneurs, wanting to see success so fast, right?
Mm,
And not doing what it takes to build up success, because there is a thing
mhm.
about scaling too fast. And when
Yeah.
you haven't mastered where you are, then it could lead to you scaling and not being able to handle it. I remember I had a conversation with Lee Steinberg, the
Mhm.
real Jerry Maguire, and
Yeah.
we were talking about just his success being a agent, a football agent, NFL agent. And we were talking about like this area particularly. And he was telling me, like, you need to dominate your area first. Like that
Mm,
area, wherever you are, that area should know who you are throughout the community, no matter where you are there. Like they should
yeah.
go to you as the focal point of whatever it is that you're selling, right? So
Mhm.
in the case of a service, you should be known. San Diego, they should know you out there for what you do.
They know me out here,
There it is.
baby.
There it is. Right. They should know exactly what it is that you do, what you provide, and you should be like, everybody should be flooding your show just based off of that, right? So I
Right.
think that when you focus on that, that will help. But oftentimes, step that I see is they don't take the time to actually build their reputation. It's kind of like, let me just get this money real quick, and then it's whatever. And then that also leads into bad relationships with your customer base or your client base,
Mm,
because you're so focused on not excuse me, you're so focused on making so much money that you're not
yeah.
cultivating the ones that are actually helping
There.
you sustain the business, and that's going to those day one clients are going to be the ones that will continue to be repeat customers. Think of it that way. And then the third one I would say is contracts. Not having
Mm,
contracts or strong contracts, because you can have a contract that's given to you. You're not looking over the terms. You're just signing. You're not
yeah.
reading the terms or understanding the terms, and you end up in a bad contract and unable to get out of it. And then also another aspect they don't realize is, if you drafted the contract. So say you're presenting a bad contract to another party and there's some type of breach or whatever, the court will
Mhm.
look at it from the eyes of, you drafted this contract, so we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it in the best positive light for against the person for the person against the person that wrote it, right? So plaintiff writes the contract, defendant breaches or something happens where there's a breach, right? The court is going to look
Mhm.
at it in the light most favorable for the defendant, because they signed it. It's not that they wrote it, they signed it. Because in their mind, it's like, you wrote this. So how are you now complaining that these terms are ambiguous or they're unclear if you wrote it? You
If
see?
you wrote it.
So that's what they look at. So I think that having a solid contract will save you a ton. And a lot
Yes.
of times you just go based off of a handshake. And I understand Pan-Africanism, we that's our word is bond, whatever. But like
Yeah.
when it comes to the written law and you want to go into this American jurisprudence and you're dealing with
Yeah.
this court system, you need written agreements. Verbal is cool, but
Yeah.
you need something in writing, and having strong contracts really will help to save your business. So I would say those are
Mhm.
probably the top three.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's like getting in the boxing ring. Protect yourself at all
That's
times.
right.
You can't keep your hands
That's
down,
right.
and yeah, you got to understand them contracts before you sign them, and get your lawyer to review your contracts and make sure your contract is
That
airtight
part.
before you start putting it out there. You know what? I'm surprised you didn't say. I thought you was going to talk about protecting your intellectual property. I was like, oh,
Well, you
he
only
gonna
gave me
say that.
3, so like,
Okay, oh, okay, all right,
you only gave me 3, so something got to give, you know.
okay, all right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's always up there. Like intellectual property is like, and it's funny because I was watching what's my man that's did Baby Got Back.
I kind of don't want.
Not that one. That's Nicki Minaj joint. I'm talking about the original.
No, I was
Oh,
doing
Sir
the
Mix-a-Lot. Sir
Sir
Mix-a-Lot.
Mix-a-Lot.
Yes,
That
yes,
was
yes.
for the original Sir
Okay,
Mix-a-Lot.
gotcha, gotcha. I thought I heard you say Anaconda. Oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah, that is
So
but I mean, she bit off some of it, but I didn't get to go through the whole thing.
no, you're right. My fault.
But Sir Mix-a-Lot, yeah.
So yeah, so I remember listening to an interview he did, and this is really big and key when it comes to intellectual property. So he said that that song makes him, of course, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, whatever. But the thing about it is you can have something like an actual song or something to copyright or even
Yeah.
trademark, but if you don't position yourself in such a way to take advantage of it, then it can kind of be worthless, right? So imagine a catalog. Let's stick with music. Imagine a music catalog, and you're sitting on music that possibly could generate $1 billion a year. Let's just say, if you don't know how to properly approach companies or properly approach different people to maximize the value of that, then it's not worth $1 billion, right? I
Yeah.
think that oftentimes we are oversaturated with this idea of intellectual property being so extremely valuable, which in a lot of cases it is, but you have to build equity within the intellectual property in order for it to be valuable. So you can't just have a name and just sit on like, okay, yeah, this is worth millions. I mean, like we all could think that, but like, what have you done to build the equity in that name in order for that to occur? Like that, and that circles back to the second point I made about building your reputation and dominating the market wherever you are. Because once you've done that, and then if we're sticking with music, once you do that in music, and we see people partying to it, it's at this club or it's at that club, it's like people are really feeling it. Then yeah, you can leverage that to make more money with it. But I mean, if you're sitting on music and nobody is doing anything with it, or you're not doing anything with it, so I think that being able to put equity in your actual trademark or your copyright is worth it too, and being able to leverage that, I think, is as equally as important as protecting it.
Absolutely. This is why Mariah Carey is still making money every Christmas.
Every Christmas. She can retire right now just off the Christmas money.
Just off the Christmas playlist. We ain't even talking about all the number ones
Exactly.
she got. Just the Christmas alone.
Christmas alone.
Jesus. Oh man, this is a whole bunch of gems. Thank you, man, for stopping by. Man, we could probably go another hour, but I don't do the Joe Rogan type of podcast. So, Taalib, my man, thank you for dropping gems and reminding us that our dreams deserve legal protection.
That's right.
And cultural preservation.
Jeez.
So before we let you go, though, let my audience know where they can connect with you, book a consultation, or follow your work.
Absolutely. So you can Google my name and some stuff pop up. You can go to my website, www.thesaberfirm.com. On Instagram, it's The Saber Firm. LinkedIn, Taalib Saber. You could just type my name in and it'll pop up. And then for the consultation, it's the same thing. You go to my website and you can book a consultation on the website. It has the calendar on there. You pick a date and time, and then we got you.
Gotcha. So if you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend that building a brand or a business, you come see my brother right here next time. We're diving into how fashion, faith, and intersect with our next guest. So stay tuned. Until then, keep rising. Peace.
Peace.